Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 32, Exploring Hard Hat Expiration Dates. Let's just dive right into this. There's a lot of common misconceptions out there, so let's just get started then. Um, the reason I sat down and I did this was for me to really understand these hard hat expiration dates. Had always heard that they have a expiration date, and never really made sense to me. I just kind of figured that what that really meant is that they would never have a warranty. Of course, warranty is probably a bad word. That they would claim that their hard hat was beyond its shelf life, of course, and thus it would not properly protect the user after X time because they can't really go back and say you've worn it the right way, you've protected it against chemicals and UV, and you've done all these things, and that's how they kind of come up with these expiration dates on what seems reasonable and logical. But let's sit down and first off, we'll talk about the definition of a hard hat. A hard hat is a type of personal protective equipment worn on the head to provide protection against impact, penetrations, and electrical hazards in the workplace. All of them I've seen have been made from plastic. I have seen other ones made from steel. I don't have any experience in those. And you can also find ones that's kind of like a polycarbonate, maybe it's like a fiberglass and plastic type of compound. And it seems that all of them have a adjustable suspension system. And of course, what that really is to help to spread out that impact force when a falling object falls onto the head. That really helps to cushion the blow. You're going to feel the blow still, but it's really going to help to cushion the blow. So what I did is I looked at the recommendations from three separate companies on this, and to keep the companies anonymous because I want you guys to do the research on what works for you and your companies, not take any of my research and say I heard it someplace because I can't tell you what's going to work for you and your company in all these different situations. So let's just look, and we've called them Company A, B, and C. Company A, hard hats should be replaced every 2 to 5 years, depending on use and environment. They also recommend that after there's been a significant blow to the head, which is really difficult to measure, of course. But obviously, if you see signs of damage and things, that's really easy to go back and look at, which also brings up another point on stickers. I'll probably do a separate episode on stickers or no stickers on hard hats and all that good stuff. And really, how do you go back and even inspect a hard hat to even see if it's even had a significant blow? Company B recommends replacing the hard hats every 5 years from the date of manufacture or sooner, of course, if there's been any impact, penetration, or other damage. Company C recommends replacing every 5 years from the date of manufacture unless there's been damage or exposure to extreme temperature or chemicals. So we have three separate companies, and they're reasonably close in what they say that you should be replacing your hard hats at. But we have Company A, 2 to 5 years. Company B and Company C both say every 5 years from date of manufacture. So, like all things, when it's made, it's going to sit on the shelf. So, I don't know about you guys, but I have to order things from a catalog. So, I don't have a chance to actually walk inside of a safety store, look on the bottom of a hard hat and say, this one, almost like if I'm shopping for milk at the store. I'm not going to buy milk that's going to expire soon. I'm going to go back and look at it. So, what's the very best shelf life that I can get, which typically means I have to move a couple of gallons of milk first all the way up front, grab the one that's even going to be better, and then put the other ones back, of course, afterwards. Um, so we don't always have a choice of what we're buying and really have a chance to look. It is something that when you contact these companies, well, whatever company that you're going to buy these from, and maybe they can help to guarantee it. Maybe they can look inside for you and come up with the best thing. But once again, that's part of the research of you guys have to figure out what's best for you and your company out there. But we also saw a couple of replacement factors, I'll call them. These are ones that are sometimes very easy to quantify, but others are really difficult to quantify. So when you think about an impact, it talks about replacing it on an impact. Well, to me, unless I can visibly see some kind of there's a dent, there's a breach in the hard hat. There's just I'm not sure that I would really would really know what an impact is. So I would probably have to say if you've had something that has significant wear, we're just going to call it impact good enough. And hard hats are very cheap. I know there's a lot of companies who will claim that hard hats should last a lifetime and the whole deal. I mean, they don't, of course. Let's look at the second one when you think about chemical exposure out there then. I would certainly hope that we're not using these hard hats in a very chemically intensive place. We do know that chemicals degrade the plastic, but we also know that when you don't store it properly, if you're storing it in a place where it's rubbing on oils and different chemicals and different things, that right from the get-go, it's having some chemical exposure. Not that you're trying to expose it by chemicals, but you're just not storing it properly to that. So that can also be part of what the issue is. When we think about plastics, we have that UV exposure then, and that's when they start to talk about temperature extremes and that kind of stuff. Then, when I look at my hard hat, it's very very faded. Now I've had this thing for 20 years, and in my early days, I was down in the beautiful state of Texas where it's just so ungodly hot. I always had that hard hat on just because it also had really good shade for me too. And so we got significant UV exposure. Now that I live in a different area that's has a lot of clouds in it then, and it also sits inside of a closet. It hasn't seen that UV light but couple hours a day. I can still tell where it's really super faded. So I need to go back and get me a brand new hard hat. It might be one I can keep on the shelf somehow and kind of say, hey, here's my first hard hat over 20 years ago, and all that stuff. And one that's also very difficult to quantify when it talks about damage or wear. I'm not sure that I could actually quantify that. Just like um, on hard hats, I would probably have to put some kind of a sticker. Sticker's the wrong word. I would probably have to write the expiration date on it someplace because there's no way that I'm going to think every time I pick up a hard hat or ask my people every time they pick up a hard hat, you need to physically look inside for that date and make sure that date has not been expired. And not just that, but if the date is expired, can't wear it today. So I need to come up with a better way of going back and looking at all these things and I still don't understand enough about does it actually expire or does the company say that from that point on we can't really say it's going to protect your head in a way that's going to meet the ANSI standard of which it's tested to. And when you start to get lawyers and everybody involved, you have to really look at the definition of things then. So that's it for episode number 32. So in this one, we explored hard hat expiration dates. We also looked at a couple other factors that's going to help drive that replacement of the hard hat. We looked at three separate companies, and I purposely chose not to put names in there because I want uh, you guys, the listener, to go back and figure out what works for you and your company, not what you heard from me because I can't tell you what your needs are. Only you know what your needs are. Um, my name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you for joining me today and have a safe day.